Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Shane Nicole Ibericas, and I'm here to present to you the last part of the speech of Corazon Aquino before the U.S. Congress of 1986. So here in this first part of the speech, President Aquino begins by discussing how her predecessor, which she most likely refers to Ferdinand Marcos, responded to the small communist insurgency by using authoritarian measures. But using those measures has only worsened the situation. This group grew significantly under his ruling, showing that the suppression and force can backfire when dealing with such movements. Here, she also lays out her plan for addressing the insurgency, advocating for political and economic solutions. Her strategy includes local reintegration programs to bring the insurgents back into society, along with economic progress and justice to address the grievances that fuels the rebellion. For the next part, although President Aquino prioritizes peace, she emphasizes that she will defend the country if necessary. If these groups reject the peace and continue to attack the soldiers and destabilize the nation, she will take necessary action. While she came to power through peaceful means, she won't hesitate to use force to protect the Filipinos' freedom if needed. However, she stresses that exploring and exhausting all the peaceful options first is a moral imperative. If war becomes necessary, it will be with a sense of justice and healing. It will not be with revenge, much like Abraham Lincoln's approach during the Civil War. Here she also draws a comparison to Lincoln's reluctance to using force, expressing that while she understands that in some cases it may be necessary, she doesn't seek for it. Her priority is maintaining the peace and integrity for the Philippines, but she will use whatever means are required to protect the country. So for this part, President Aquino then shifts her focus to the significant burden of foreign debt inherited from the previous regime. President Aquino criticizes the injustice of paying for a $26 billion debt that the Filipino people never benefited from, while being held to the conditions imposed on the corrupt government that incurred it. She also points out that despite the restoration of the democracy in the country, her government has not received the financial support given to the other countries in similar situations, such as the post-war Europe through the Marshall Plan. She reflects then on her recent meeting with the US President Ronald Reagan, describing it as a positive step towards the renewal of the cooperation between the two nations. So this meeting then signals a new beginning for their partnership and should lead to the tangible results for both nations. So for this next part, President Aquino recounts how during her campaign, the Filipino people overwhelmingly demanded democracy, even above their basic needs like foods and jobs. This then highlights the deep desire for freedom in the country, despite the severe poverty they experienced under the previous regime. She then goes on to explain the complex challenges that the Philippines faces, which includes the ongoing communist insurgency, the economic deterioration, and the crushing burden of a foreign debt. Now, these factors are complicating the efforts to building a stable and enduring democracy. Now, for this part of the speech, President Aquino then highlights the severe impact of debt on the nation's economy, with half of the country's export earnings going to pay interest on loans that provided no benefit to the Filipino people. She then questions the fairness of forcing her people to suffer for the debts accumulated through corruption. Despite this, President Aquino reaffirms her commitment to honoring the debt while appealing for fairness and resistance. She makes a heartfelt plea to the American people, pointing out that while the US has spent great effort spreading democracy throughout the world, the Philippines wants its own freedom and now needs help in preserving it. For the final part of her speech, President Aquino then expresses gratitude to the United States for providing her family refuge, and she then calls for a renewed partnership to support the newly restored democracy in the Philippines. Thank you for listening. That is all.